Marie Julie Jahenny was born in 1850, and this was a Catholic mystic who lived in rural small town France, in the northwest part of France.
Marie Julie Jahenny, a French mystic of the 19th century, led a life marked by a series of divine manifestations. She captured the fascination and devotion of many through her sacred wounds and divine prophecies. Over the years, her words became prophetic, as the following events echoed exactly the warnings she had shared in her life. A devout Christian and a brave defender of the faith, she shared these warnings for all to heed. But most importantly, it concerns us, people of the 21st century, because what Marie Julie Jahenny predicted for 2024 will shock everyone. But before we delve any deeper into this, let's take a look at her story from the very beginning. Early life and extraordinary beginnings. Born on February 12, 1850, in Coyot, a village in Blaine, Brittany, France, Marie Julie Jahenny's early life was marked by the simplicity and devotion of her upbringing. At the age of 3 or 4, her family relocated to a modest cottage in La Fraude, a hamlet near Blaine, where she would spend the rest of her life. As the eldest of 5 children, Marie Julie grew up in a deeply religious environment. Her parents, Charles and Marie Boya, were pious peasants who labored tirelessly to provide for their family, instilling in their children a profound sense of faith and devotion. Yet they had no way of knowing that their daughter would be destined to become one of the most revered mystics of the 19th century. But this was a long road, and the journey that lay ahead was just as important as the outcome. From an early age, Marie Julie Jahenny showed signs of her extraordinary spiritual path. Her first mystical experience occurred in church when she heard an interior voice say, "Stay a little longer with me." Drawn to the tabernacle, she spent countless hours in prayer, either at the church or in quiet places of meditation. Her devotion only intensified as she matured. She eventually joined the Third Order of St. Francis, embodying a life of modesty, piety, and spiritual perfection that made her a model of holiness for her parish. At the age of 23, Marie Julie's life took a dramatic turn. On February 22, 1873, she fell gravely ill, teetering on the brink of death. It was during this critical moment that the Virgin Mary appeared to her, offering her a choice. Marie Julie could be healed, but only if she accepted the same agonies that Christ himself had suffered. Without hesitation, she agreed, thus embracing her role as a victim soul, one who willingly accepts suffering to atone for the sins of others. On March 15th, the Virgin Mary appeared to her again, asking if she would continue to bear this cross, and Marie Julie reaffirmed her commitment. From this moment, her life became a living passion, as she began to endure the physical agonies of Christ, including the manifestation of the stigmata. The first of these stigmata, the 5 wounds of Christ, appeared on her body on March 21, 1873. These were deeply painful experiences that mirrored the sufferings of Christ. On October 5th of the same year, she received the crown of thorns, followed by the wound of Christ's shoulder on November 25th, reflecting the pain he bore while carrying the cross. The marks of his scourging appeared on her back on December 6th, and as the new year approached, more wounds manifested. By January 12th, 1874, she bore marks on her wrists, symbolizing where Christ's hands were bound, along with a wound over her heart. Additional scourge marks appeared on her ankles, legs, forearms, and sides over the next few days. One of the most unique and profound signs came on February 20th, 1874, when a wound appeared on the ring finger of her right hand, symbolizing an espousal ring of blood. This marked her as the spiritual spouse of Christ, a designation of immense significance in Christian mysticism. But the most remarkable of her stigmata appeared on December 7th, when a cross and a flower, accompanied by the words "O Crux Ave" or "Hail to the Cross," manifested on her chest. Witnesses also noted the extraordinary fragrance emanating from her body, a sign often associated with saints and mystical experiences. On June 25, 1875, it was revealed to her that soon God's secrets would be made known, and the world would witness his love and power through her. Just days later, he promised that greater miracles would be performed through her than through Saint Margaret Mary, a revered saint known for her visions of the Sacred Heart. Her mission was further emphasized in 1876, when Saint Francis of Assisi appeared to her in a vision. presenting her with a white stone symbolizing the cornerstone for the work of the cross that would begin at La Fraude. During an ecstasy on March 14th of that year, she was given a new spiritual name, Marie Julie of the Crucifix, marking her full acceptance of her role as Christ's chosen victim's soul. This name was written in a mystical book brought by angels, signifying that her work was divinely sanctioned and would continue even after her death. Marie Julie prophesied that this book would not be opened until 7 months after her passing. Her mystical union with Christ was further solidified when, on August 1st, 1876, the Eternal Father asked her to declare her name. She humbly responded, "I am Marie Julie of the Crucifix, Virgin of the Cross, Magdalene repentant, contrite, penitent, and forgiven." Thus began a saga of mystical visions, divine prophecies, and miracles. Marie Julie Jahenny's mystical experiences and miracles. On January 29, 1877, Marie Julie Jahenny received a profound mystical vision where she was taken to the second heaven, where she witnessed Jesus enthroned, with the Eternal Father offering her a flower symbolizing her being called by Jesus. The Father, in a dramatic act, bestowed his divine illumination upon his Son and directed Marie Julie to receive this divine light as well. Through a series of symbolic acts, including the placing of a mystic nail in her heart, a spiritual union was formed between her and Jesus. The Father, in a moment of divine affection, praised the beauty of this spiritual wound of love, uniting Marie Julie to Christ in a profound way. In a subsequent vision on February 22, 1877, Jesus affectionately called her Marie Julie of the Crucifix and invited her to find solace in his wounds. Her mission was later clarified in a revelation dated October 27, 1887, where Jesus, accompanied by Saint Margaret Mary, distinguished her from other mystics. In response to all these claims, the Bishop of Nantes, Monseigneur Fournier, initiated an investigation into her stigmata and mystical experiences, placing Dr. Imbert Gourbert in charge of the medical examinations. After carefully observing her, the doctor concluded that her wounds were supernatural. These wounds, bleeding every Friday and later only on Good Fridays, became visible signs of her intense suffering for the salvation of souls. Miraculous events often accompanied the stigmata, such as the radiant stream of light emanating from her wounds on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception in 1884. These were witnessed by her family. Marie Julie's willingness to endure more suffering for sinners led to further, more severe physical torments. These extraordinary afflictions, such as the prophetic announcement and subsequent dislocation of her limbs, blindness, and loss of speech, were witnessed by Dr. Imbert Gourbert, who documented them as supernatural phenomena. Despite these afflictions, miraculous signs continued, such as her immovable yet feather-light body and her ability to hear the priest in Latin despite being deaf and uneducated. Her spiritual journey continued to be marked by extraordinary ecstasies and suffering, reflecting her deep union with Christ. The doctor's testimony emphasizes that Marie Julie Jahenny's experiences could not be attributed to hysteria. He firmly asserted that the nature of her symptoms, particularly the contractures, were unlike anything seen in medical cases of hysteria, especially since her condition would miraculously cease every Friday, allowing her to speak and walk while in a state of ecstasy. Such phenomena, he argued, could only be understood as miraculous. But there was more to come. Marie Julie, much like other mystics, underwent periods of extreme fasting, where she subsisted solely on the Eucharist. The first significant instance occurred on April 12, 1874, and lasted for an astonishing 94 days, a feat that she had even predicted in advance. She later foretold another prolonged fast beginning on December 28, 1875, which extended for an incredible 5 years, 1 month, and 22 days. During this time, the doctor noted that she exhibited no signs of solid or liquid excretion, which was deemed medically impossible. She also received Holy Communions that appeared supernaturally, with several witnesses, including Bishop Fournier, present to observe these events. The first of these miraculous communions took place on June 4, 1874, followed by several others, notably between May 1876 and January 1877, with a total of 13 recorded during her Friday ecstasies, some witnessed by over 200 people. Additional miracles involved bleeding images and crucifixes. On January 21st, 1877, during an ecstasy, Marie Julie had a vision of Christ, who revealed to her the bleeding of his wounds in a picture of the crucifixion she had been meditating upon. He commanded her to inform her spiritual director, Father David, to collect the blood. Her family witnessed this miraculous occurrence, and the blessed image was kept by Father David. Further evidence of divine intervention came in 1880, on the feast of Corpus Christi, when the curate of Blan, Father Lecoux, personally witnessed another crucifix bleed. He recorded that while speaking with Marie Julie, she went into ecstasy and pointed out that her crucifix was bleeding. Upon examining the image, Father Lecoux saw blood flow from it. He also observed Marie Julie, who appeared to be drinking the blood from another crucifix. Following her request, he purified the crucifixes and her lips with a consecrated cloth. All of these miracles came with their fair share of trials, attacks from the devil and persecution from mortals. From the moment Marie Julie Jahenny first received the stigmata, she became the target of relentless demonic attacks, a spiritual warfare that the Virgin Mary had forewarned her about. One of the final warnings came on April 26, 1874, when the Virgin Mary assured her that, despite the trials ahead, she would never be abandoned. Just 15 minutes after this warning, the devil began his assaults, subjecting Marie Julie to violent beatings that left her covered in bruises and cuts. Yet these injuries never became infected and would miraculously heal with the use of holy water. The devil would also destroy her sacramentals, breaking rosaries, knocking holy pictures off the walls, and throwing her crucifix to the ground. Blessed objects were either damaged or disappeared, spirited away by the malevolent force. Even when others were present, they too were sometimes physically assaulted, pushed over, or otherwise harassed by the devil. The devil frequently appeared to Marie Julie in terrifying forms, including as monstrous beasts or grotesque animals. He threatened her soul, insisting that he would eventually damn her, hoping to break her spirit and cause her to abandon her mission to save souls. When fear tactics failed, he resorted to temptation, manifesting as a handsome young man and offering her wealth, healing, or relief from her sufferings. But Marie Julie remained unmoved. On other occasions, Satan attempted to deceive her by appearing as angels or saints during her ecstasies. However, Marie Julie was cautious and prudent, testing each apparition to ensure it was from heaven. One way she exposed these impostors was by asking them to make an act of love to the Sacred Heart. While genuine apparitions would comply, Satan would flee when confronted with this request. In other cases, she noticed subtle errors, such as a missing halo or an incorrectly depicted cross on the clothing of a supposed saint. After this intense initial period of trials, Saint Michael the Archangel intervened, restoring the holy objects Satan had stolen and granting her a temporary reprieve. However, this peace was short-lived. By January 1875, the devil returned with new strategies. Disguised as a priest, he attempted to deceive her, but she quickly recognized the ruse when she noticed that the priest was missing a cross on his stole. In this form, Satan even tried to offer her a counterfeit host, which she wisely refused. On other occasions, the devil attempted to poison her, forcing revolting substances into her mouth, including grass or a phial of poisoned blood. Her spiritual director, Father David, had to perform exorcisms to release her from these horrors. There were also times when Satan tried to prevent her from receiving Holy Communion by clamping her mouth shut. However, Father David would patiently hold the Blessed Sacrament before her until the devil was forced to release his grip. These torments, though grievous, were ultimately transformed into acts of sacrifice by Marie Julie, offerings she made for the salvation of souls. She also found some respite by using holy water, which frequently repelled the demonic attacks. In addition to her spiritual trials, Marie Julie also faced earthly persecution. This began shortly after she received the stigmata, with the death of her most ardent supporter, Bishop Fournier, in 1877. Bishop Fournier had steadfastly defended the supernatural origins of her stigmata and ecstasies, but after his passing, a new bishop, Bishop Lecoq, took a drastically different view. Less than a month after Fournier's death, the chapter of curates ordered that Marie Julie be deprived of the sacraments, a decision upheld by Bishop Lecoq. This meant that she was denied access to the Blessed Sacrament. Despite this, heaven intervened, and Marie Julie began receiving miraculous communions again. These appearances occurred every Sunday, and on certain feast days. Dr. Imbert Gourbert, a staunch defender of Marie Julie, continued to advocate for her, presenting Bishop Lecoq with evidence of the miracles and reminding him of Bishop Fournier's prior rulings. Nevertheless, the new bishop remained unconvinced. This persecution lasted for 11 years. It was only in 1888, after Pope Leo XIII initiated an inquiry into the matter, that justice was restored. Reverend Father Vanutelli, the appointed investigator, ruled in Marie Julie's favor, and by order of the Holy See, the ban on receiving the sacraments was lifted. Throughout her ordeals, Marie Julie's faith remained unwavering, enduring both supernatural and human opposition with grace and steadfast devotion, revelations and promises. During her ecstatic experiences, which were marked by unresponsiveness to external stimuli, levitation, and a miraculous ability to distinguish between blessed and unblessed objects, she was given not only spiritual guidance, but also shown events from around the world and future happenings. On September 15, 1879, she foresaw Otto von Bismarck's Kulturkampf, a significant moment of conflict between the German state and the Catholic Church. 2 years later, on September 15, 1881, she accurately foretold the death of Melanie Calvat, the visionary of La Salette, who passed away on December 15, 1904. She also predicted the catastrophic eruption of Mount Pelée in Martinique and described its devastation as it occurred, despite being half a world away. In 1881, she prophesied the Transvaal War, predicting it would occur following the death of Queen Victoria, which indeed came to pass in 1901. Her prediction of the death of the Count de Chambord, the last direct heir to the Bourbon dynasty of France, was yet another testament to her visionary abilities. Another notable prediction involved the papal succession following Pope Leo XIII. Just days before the conclave, Marie Julie announced that the Adriatic cardinal had been chosen by God and would reign under the name of Christ, though his reign would be brief. This prophecy was fulfilled with the election of Pius X, the former Cardinal of Venice, or the Adriatic Cardinal, who served as Pope for 11 years, much shorter than his predecessor, Pius IX, who reigned for over 3 decades. Marie Julie also foretold that France would lose Algeria to the Arabs, another prediction that sadly came true. She also accurately foresaw the horrors of both world wars, living long enough to witness the beginning of the second one. However, perhaps the most mystifying of all her predictions was her own death. In 1876, she had been told that she would die on a Friday, yet when her death came on March 4, 1941, it occurred on a Tuesday. This apparent contradiction has puzzled many. Given the accuracy of her other prophecies and the many miracles that surrounded her life, how could she have been mistaken about such a significant event? Some suggest there may have been no error at all. During one of her ecstasies, she was shown a mystic chalice and expressed a wish to take it with her to the grave. God responded by promising that his heart would continue to live in hers even after her burial. This profound mystery has led to speculation that perhaps Marie Julie did not die in the conventional sense on that Tuesday. It is possible that she entered a deep, death-like ecstasy or coma on that day, and her true death may have occurred later, fulfilling the promise of her death on a Friday. Even after her death, she continued to gain attention due to the accuracy and relevance of the prophecies she made during her lifetime. For instance, 8 months after the death of Pope Pius IX in 1878, she foretold that he would one day be elevated to great sanctity, and he was indeed beatified by Pope John Paul II in 2000. One of her visions also warned not to trust a political ruler who would seem to offer restoration to the Church, but would fail to do so. Some believe this cryptic message may refer to former French President Nicolas Sarkozy, though this remains open to interpretation. Marie Julie also predicted that the disputed canonization of Charlemagne would one day be formalized by the Church, and that King Louis XVI would be raised to sainthood during the reign of a prophesied great monarch. She also foretold many other events which are yet to happen in the future. Her predictions hold grave warnings for France, Europe, the Church, and the world, and their significance may unfold in the times to come. What does 2024 and the future hold? She predicted the events of the future in the prophecy of the Great Renewal. According to the vision, a tremendous calamity will precede a period of unprecedented renewal. The earth will be strewn with the remains of the dead, both the wicked and those who, despite their righteousness, failed to escape or prepare. Yet this devastation is not the end. Instead, it sets the stage for a miraculous purification. As promised by the Lord on August 17, 1920, a purifying dew will cleanse the earth of corruption and decay, symbolizing the beginning of a new era. This period of intense suffering and darkness, including the foretold 3 days of darkness, will ultimately pave the way for a fresh beginning. The earth will be repopulated by a new generation chosen by divine will. As revealed to Marie Julie Jahenny, the survivors of this great trial will witness a profound transformation. Despite the severity of these times, Marie Julie's visions promise a blessed future for those who endure and witness the great renewal. On March 16, 1880, the Virgin Mary assured that those destined to experience this extraordinary grace would be recognized as the new children of a renewed world, blessed with an outpouring of divine grace. The Lord further elaborated on November 13, 1924, about the future reign of His Sacred Heart, where justice will triumph and the earth will be restored to its former beauty and holiness. This era will be marked by miraculous signs and resurrections, bringing peace and joy to those who remain faithful. France is central to this prophetic renewal. The nation, enduring immense suffering, will be rejuvenated and elevated under the leadership of a great monarch and an angelic pontiff. This new era will see the restoration of monarchies and the Church's rightful place. France is prophesied to lead this renewal, becoming a beacon of divine influence and grace. The arrival of this great king will be preceded by significant signs and miracles. He will come amid civil wars and upheaval with heavenly assistance. The Virgin Mary's message from January 3, 1900, reveals that France will appear almost dead before this transformation, but divine intervention will awaken and restore it. The hidden king, a descendant of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, will emerge during these tumultuous times. Prophecies also suggest that he will arrive during the chastisements and will be protected by heavenly forces, including Saint Michael. The restoration of the French monarchy is linked to a divine blessing that dates back to the reign of Clovis I, the first French king to convert to Christianity. His conversion, marked by a miraculous appearance of the Holy Spirit and the anointing with holy chrism, established the French monarchy's divine right to rule. This divine favor was symbolized by the fleur-de-lis, the emblem of the French monarchy. The Sacred Heart foretold that with the restoration of the French royal house, the Holy Spirit, symbolized by a dove, would descend upon France, bringing a banner with the Sacred Heart to the great monarch. This profound sign will herald the new era and validate the legitimacy of the king. However, not all will accept this restoration without conflict. The prophecy speaks of contenders and disputes over the throne, including claims from descendants of the Orleans family, who are described as having a tainted legacy. Despite these challenges, the true king will emerge from the east, as foretold, to restore the rightful order and guide the world through its final transformation. We know that Henry V's refusal to accept a democratic compromise led to his downfall and loss of power. As a result, the Republicans swiftly took control and established the Third Republic, a provisional government aimed at securing the throne for a more liberal successor, the Comte de Paris, upon Henry's death. Henry and his family were exiled once more, and he died on August 24, 1883, at his residence in Frosdorf, Austria. His remains were interred alongside his grandfather, Charles X, and other Bourbon exiles in the crypt of the Franciscan Kostanjevica Monastery in Gorizia, now part of Slovenia. Prophetic visions by Marie Julie Jahenny had forecasted Henry's demise, predicting that the impure colors of the Republican tricolor would ultimately prevail and that the Third Republic would become the enduring government of France. Marie Julie's predictions, made on March 15, 1882, proved accurate as the French public's support for the monarchy waned, and no serious efforts to restore it emerged thereafter. Henry V, the last genuine Catholic king of France from the Bourbon line, was replaced by a republican regime that retained the tricolor flag. Marie Julie's prophetic role began on March 21, 1873, shortly after Count du Chambeur's declaration of the white flag in 1871. She was unique among mystics in declaring Henry V, known as the Miracle Child, as the long-awaited great monarch. Her visions aligned with earlier predictions. Henry was to be the final royal descendant of France, an exiled monarch with a limp from a horse accident, and a progeny of the king and queen martyrs, which could be interpreted as Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. Despite his death, Marie Julie's prophecies suggested that the great monarch would return and lead great armies and restore Christendom. But how? Well, the prophecy is not necessarily about Henry V returning physically from the dead, but rather about the fulfillment of his role as the great monarch. This symbolic return can be understood as a form of divine intervention, where the ideals associated with Henry V, a monarch chosen by God, will emerge as a future leader, or through miraculous events that align with the prophecy. The resurrection of King Henry V, as proposed in the prophecies, serves as a profound response to the widespread denial of Christ's divinity. The anticipated rise of heresies that deny Christ's divine nature could lead to significant doubt about the resurrection and the doctrine of the dead rising, central to the Catholic faith. In this context, a miraculous resurrection of Henry V would be a powerful sign to reaffirm Christ's divinity and the resurrection of the dead. Christ emphasized that the return of the king, symbolized by Henry V, cannot be orchestrated by human means. Any attempts by mankind to uncover a hidden bloodline or restore the king through human efforts, such as DNA analysis or political maneuvering, would fall short. Christ's message was clear. The return of the king would transcend human understanding and capabilities, manifesting only through divine intervention. Marie Julie was assured that the restoration of the king would be a divine act, shrouded in mystery, beyond the reach of human comprehension. The identity of this king, specifically Henry V, is central to these prophecies. Marie Julie consistently referred to him as the miracle child and exiled king, reinforcing the belief that he alone was designated by divine will to fulfill this role. Marie Julie's revelations also suggest a divine strategy of concealment. By not openly declaring the resurrection of the great monarch after his death, the prophecies imply that the mystery surrounding his return is part of a larger divine plan. This hidden aspect of the king's identity serves to test and reveal the faith of believers. The prophetic words suggest that while the identity and return of the king will remain hidden from a faithless generation, those who truly believe will discern the divine plan through faith and perseverance. The decline of the Christian faith, as is being witnessed in France and the rest of Europe, as secular values and atheism take hold, can be seen as the precursor to the great renewal that Marie Julie foresaw. Regarding the future of La Fraude, her home, Marie Julie Jahenny's visions depicted as a place destined for immense spiritual transformation. After her death, La Fraude is prophesied to become a major pilgrimage site, attracting those seeking divine grace and miracles. The significance of La Fraude goes beyond its historical association with Marie Julie. It is foreseen to become a sanctuary of spiritual renewal, blessed by supernatural interventions. According to the prophecies, the construction of a grand sanctuary at this site will be divinely inspired and guided, with its features, including healing waters, serving as a testament to God's grace and miraculous power. This envisioned sanctuary is expected to be a focal point for the faithful, where miraculous healings and divine occurrences will reaffirm the spiritual importance of the place. The sanctuary's design and existence, assisted by angelic beings, reflect the broader theme of spiritual restoration in Marie Julie's prophecies. The healing waters, likely comparable to other renowned pilgrimage sites such as Lourdes, symbolize a period of grace and renewal, offering hope and healing to pilgrims. This sanctuary, therefore, is not just a physical structure, but a representation of the transformative power of divine intervention during a period of crisis and renewal, aligned with the broader prophecies of France's spiritual restoration. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.